is Leah Jackson. I am a senior at Rowan University, and I'm excited to kind of show you guys what I did for my project. I went to AC on June 28th, 2019, which was actually my birthday. So it was pretty exciting. It was a little excuse to get there. So I'm excited to kind of show you guys what I learned and what I saw, and I hope that you guys can let me know how I did. All right, let's get started. Alright, so the first class I decided to look at was the working class. And I did some research after I went, and what really got me was that they focus on everyday life. And right there, that's a very powerful statement because they focus on everything. And many of these classes we're going to look at, they don't really do that. Some of them don't even need to do that, which is saying a lot. But another thing about the working class, I'm sure you guys already figured out, is they don't need a degree. They don't need a college degree. They might not even need a high school degree. Some of them might not go to high school, and some of them might actually drop out of high school like my dad did. And we'll be able to explain more about that as we go through it. But there's a reason why they dropped out depending on the jobs that they got. All right. So this is blue collar. So blue collar is actually part of the working class. And there's different things of blue collar. So blue collar is basically manual labor. So you got your construction, which I just showed, and you got your maintenance. Maintenance, for example, is basically what I saw in the AC boardwalk, which are people fixing machines, fixing rides. I saw a couple of them that were broken down, and they were actually fixing them. And for construction, what I also mean is this. So people are fixing the boardwalk, they're fixing the shops, or they're building the shops, their boss gives them these plans, and they make it happen. In order to see and kind of understand a little bit more of what a blue-collar person would look like is basically jeans and a t-shirt. So you can see the guy in the yellow cap right there. He's wearing basically a t-shirt, jeans, and the orange vest that they have to wear for protection and for safety. But that's basically what they go to work with. Not many people can do that. Another blue-collar job is actually retail. So for instance, retail would include the Rainforest Cafe in which I went into. So that is actually the gift shop. And just so you know for the future, none of these photos are mine. They were all found online, and I wish I did take photos, but I unfortunately did not. So retail. So the Rainforest Cafe, the gift shop right there, they're selling items. They're selling souvenirs. They're selling gifts. Anything on the boardwalk for the AC where there are shops everywhere selling stuff. That is a blue collar. Another example would actually be the waitress, and that is not our waitress, but he works there. She is on a low-level job, and she's trying to survive. Not a lot of these jobs that we're mentioning, they don't need a degree, a college degree. And my dad was actually in just construction, and he didn't need a college degree, which was, very interesting for him. Along with blue collar in the working class, there's also white collar. And that is actual non-manual labor. So that's the complete opposite of blue collar. So these guys you're going to find mostly as desk jobs. So you got your secretaries and you got your bookkeepers. And what I use for secretaries, actually the casino I went into, the Tropicana and AC, there was someone there behind the desk, and I used her as the secretary. She signed people in, she answered phones, she put down appointments, and she figured it all out. Well, the thing about these guys, when it comes to white collar, which is actually very interesting, or really the working class in general, is they don't have that much. Their price range goes from $7,500 to $15,000. And that's really not a lot. A lot of people that are in the working class have to have multiple jobs, or they marry someone who's part of the middle class or the upper middle class. The second class I'm looking at is the middle class / lower class. So basically what I wanted to look at is what are the difference? I mean, there's 3 classes we're looking at. What can we really tell? So the first thing I'm going to start with is education. So these guys have to have a college graduate. In order to do that, they have to pass through high school. You need high school and college diplomas in your hand in order to be part of the middle class or lower middle class. The first thing I wanted to look at when I was in AC was actually the parking enforcement. So there actually were tickets on cars when I was walking my way up to the boardwalk, which is actually very interesting. Little did I know, do they actually come from the middle class? I guess because it's part of law enforcement, they have to go through a whole training for it, which is part of college. When it comes to the middle class, they're somewhat educated. They are stably employed. But the thing about the middle class is it's usually headed by a married couple. There's some instances where it's an individual adult, but the individual adult has to have a college degree or more in order to even succeed at all. But typically, families are by married couples. The problem that it comes with the middle class is you have food insecurity. You're not entirely certain where your next meal will come from. You might have an idea, but you actually might not know. So middle class isn't as cracked up as it used to be. So middle class jobs are actually jobs like low-level managers, semi-professionals, which are pharmacists, and even teachers. Some other things that I've noticed as well is actually craftsmen. They're part of middle class. And what I noticed at the AC Boardwalk is actually street paint, which they got spray paint from several different cans, and they somehow painted this canvas with just that. Actually very interesting. Another thing about these middle class jobs is that the people that are working there are just looking for themselves for individual advancement. They're not caring really about anything else except themselves. They can succeed. They can continue to keep going. For instance, they have a college degree. So they can keep going up the ladder if they want to. They can go get a master's, or they can continue their education. When it comes to the lower class or the working class, just the working class, they don't have a degree. Sometimes they don't even have a high school degree. So getting back into the teaching and into the schooling that they need in order to succeed is actually a lot harder than one might think. Just like the working class, there is also white collar in the middle class. So basically, white collar is the same thing, non-manual labor. An example of white collar that I used when I saw on the AC Boardwalk is advertisement. So we all see that screen there that says Atlantic City Marathon with the guy wearing the blue hat. That is advertisement. Someone sat down, planned it out, and then gave the plans to someone to put that up. Putting it up is a manual job. That is more blue collar. When it comes to planning it out, sitting down, planning it out, and advertising for it, that is more of your white collar that you're seeing. Another one is actually the architect. So when there's things that you have to rebuild a building, or you have to plan a building, or put something into place, people sit down at their desk and come up with plans and figure out how they can make this happen. That is your architect. Giving the plans to someone and then building it, that is completely different. That's more of your manual labor. Another example is actually the pizza place. I went to several pizza places, but this is not one of them, fortunately. So basically, when it comes to pizza shops, is owners of small businesses like this, they are also middle class and white collar, no manual labor. They don't typically show up and start working. They oversee their workers. They kind of tell their workers what to do. They rely on their workers. They're comfortable, but they work very, very hard for what they do. So, when I went into the pizza shop, there was people, the workers were staring at me, and they're like, "Oh, what do you want? What do you want?" And I was like, "I'm not entirely certain yet. I took my good old time." But they're fighting for what they want because they're in competition with all the other pizza places that are right next to them. Same with the souvenir shops. They're also in competition with all the other ones that are right near them. So yeah, they're comfortable with what they're doing, but they have to work very, very hard in order to get it. The owners of it are the white class. The workers, they're just the working class. They're workers. Another thing when it comes to middle class is you need your high school diploma and your college diploma. And all in all, if you have both of them, it's $85,000 to $100,000 that you could receive just from your education alone and working. That right there is already more than the working class. The third class I wanted to look at is the upper level middle class. This one's actually very interesting because in the textbook, if you look at the diagram that looks like a raindrop, you can actually see the little tiny part at the top that's still connected to the upper level class known as the working rich. This is where you will find your most professionals. And even though Weber, who died in 1920, he knew the upper level was growing. He knew that this was happening. So when it comes to the working rich, you have your doctors, you have your lawyers, you have a small class at the top of this upper level that is there. Another example will actually be, When I went into the casino and walked, going to the bathrooms, I didn't step on the carpet, but I could see the games. I could see the blackjack tables. I can see all the people around them. And you can see what the looks, and you can see how they're dressing. So you got guys in normal plain t-shirts, dress shirts, even suits, drinking, depending on the drink you get. You can get a beer or you can get a gin and tonic. Same with the females. You can go all out and get jewelry and go crazy, or you can just wear something simple, jeans and a t-shirt. And it also depends on how long you're there. It's not only are you looking at the looks, are you looking at how you're treating people. You got a lot of money to spend. You're gonna boss people around. Why wouldn't you? Not only that, so when I looked at it, I also saw people who were there to burn money, even though they lost, they remained there. So for example, there was one guy there who was full up in a suit, and what he had, I don't know how much money he had, but he was there for a good half hour to an hour. Gone about through 5 to 7 rounds. Really quick, kind of. But he was there for a while. There were people that were coming in and out of that table. People that dressed just like him and only lasted 2 rounds and they left the actual casino. Or people that didn't dress like him, had a dress shirt, had just a normal shirt on with jeans or shorts. They came in, they lost, and they immediately left. They either went to the machines or actually exited the casino. Another example is actually inside Tropicana, all the shops. We can all see the gold, we can all see the projection of the sky on the ceiling. You can all see the fake palm trees. This is a very expensive area. When it comes to the shops, the workers in there, they're not working as a low paid employee. They're working for the actual casino themselves. That, therefore, you have to get a degree for. You have to actually understand what you're doing. They might have gotten a degree for something else, saw the salary of this job, and was like, I'm going to go for this. You have to outbid yourself compared to everyone else. Would a casino who drives in several clients a day go from someone who has a degree in college, high school, and maybe a master's? Or would they hire someone who's just coming off the streets with no high school diploma and no college education? Another example is the owner of the Rainforest Cafe. It's a medium-sized business. This isn't something small. They're looking down at their employees. The employees that they work for, those people are someone different. When it comes to owning a medium business like this, they're part of upper middle. Another example is how much they bring in. $200,000 to $300,000. That is a lot of money. And when it comes to their education, you've guessed it, they get high school diploma, college diploma, and master's. Especially if you're in law and medicine, you must get a master's degree. I must say, based on all my observations, my field data, and everything, I was really uncomfortable in the casino. I felt out of place. I didn't feel like I belonged there. Not because the way I was dressing or the way that I was talking. But looking through the audience of people, security was watching every step I made. I stayed on the line where security doesn't ask you for your ID, even though I'm 23 years old. I felt like if I stepped on the carpet, several security guards would have come up to me and asked for my ID. I didn't feel right there. I felt out of place, like I didn't belong, and probably because it wasn't my class. A lot of people that were there, dressing in fancy, spending money, giving money away, it was not me. It wasn't me because I didn't have money to spend. When it comes down to the actual boardwalk, I felt most comfortable there and the Rainforest Cafe. The reason I felt the most comfortable there, I believe, is because I was used to it. The Rainforest Cafe, sure, the waitress, she's living comfortably, but she's doing a blue-collar job. Doesn't mean she has to be nice to people. She can come in and act however she wants. She's probably being nice so she can get a good tip out of it. But when it comes to treating people, I didn't feel comfortable in the casino. And it was not only because that other people were actually demanding the workers what to do, not only that, but no one really seemed friendly enough to talk to. When it came to the Rainforest Cafe and even on the boardwalk, people were saying excuse me, or I'm sorry if they bumped into anyone. It was very interesting, and I felt better when I was on the actual boardwalk and in the Rainforest Cafe. some extra facts that I decided to put in there to help anyone else that's confused. So one of the extra facts I have is cultural plays a huge part in class structure because we're all different. We're all treated different. We all grew up differently. So depending on our class, we could react differently. For instance, blue collar workers that are part of the working class, they might be happy. Happy that, okay, they're barely getting there, but they're happy. That's how they were raised, to always appreciate everything. When it comes to others, maybe they grew up in a rich area, but they didn't succeed so well in giving their own finance. They might be upset, depressed. They might have some mental issues. Capitalist is a huge thing. Capitalist basically is the owner with the means of production. They own businesses. They own the Rainforest Cafe. They own and oversee several businesses, the shops that we saw. They oversee everything. Tropicana Casino, hotels, you name it, they oversee their workers. They oversee the means of everything. But as it's once said, as Marx has once said, the workers, they own their ability to work. They have their ability. They can come in and act however they want. They want to work, they want to not work, they want to have an attitude, not an attitude. That is up to them. That is called the labor power. Marx said several things, but the one thing he said was that there's a lack of power between the workers and their boss, and that is the conflict base, also known as exploitation. Capitalism is destructive. So the workers and their boss, they might not be getting along. Their boss might be putting too much on their workers, and therefore a conflict is arising. Weber argued that class is part of an economic interest. He also said that class is in relation to a lab. Marx said that labor of work are the workers versus the workers. However, Eric Wright is trying to explain exploitation. He's trying to understand what Marx and Weber were both arguing over. Wright himself said that Marx said that labor of work is between the workers and the workers. Together, they're in competition to get higher in the labor system or try to improve with their boss and try to understand what their boss is doing. With Weber, it's more of class relations, trying to understand each other and trying to not fight with each other, but help each other grow. That is my presentation on my Atlantic City boardwalk. I hope that it was good. I hope that I was able to put enough knowledge and observations, and I was able to use not only what I saw, but the lecture material and even outside resources to really put it all into, an understanding of knowledge for everyone. I'm hoping I did good. I had a lot more field notes than what I had actually said, which was very interesting. I even had the outside of someone's house. But unfortunately, I did not take pictures because I was too busy writing. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. I am very interested to understand and find out how I did, as I hope I did really well with it. I am planning a vacation for 2 weeks, so unfortunately I had to submit this extra early. So I hope that this is good.